Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into Chapter 7 of a pretty critical report from Virtualization Options LLC to unpack the hidden, physical footprint of the AI boom. We're going to navigate a really fascinating and complex landscape based strictly on this chapter's findings. We'll be looking at the fierce battle over measuring the true environmental impact of all this rapidly expanding infrastructure. We're going straight to the data, the conflicting research, and the serious questions regarding scientific integrity that this specific section of the report raises. Let's get into it. We usually think of artificial intelligence and the cloud as these totally invisible forces, right? Just magic living in our phones, seamlessly answering questions and generating images out of thin air. But today, we're looking at the massive physical resources it takes to actually keep those digital gears turning, because every query, every prompt, every generated image requires tangible energy and physical cooling. The reality is, the cloud is actually a rapidly expanding network of concrete and steel data centers. We're talking sprawling hyperscale facilities, literally the size of multiple football fields, built by massive tech companies like Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and Meta, along with a ton of growing startups. And according to Chapter 7 of the analysis we're looking at today, they are being announced, permitted, and built at a pace that's currently outstripping the capacity of independent science to fully evaluate their impacts.
To really grasp the footprint of these massive places, we need to define two quick technical terms that are central to this whole debate. First up is PUE, or Power Usage Effectiveness. This is an essential metric that measures how much total power a facility consumes compared to the actual computing equipment inside. It helps us understand the overhead, basically how much electricity is just going toward keeping the lights on and the environment controlled.
Just as crucial, especially for the context of this report, is WUE, or Water Usage Effectiveness. This metric tells us exactly how many liters of fresh water are needed per kilowatt-hour of IT energy just to keep those massive server racks from overheating. And man, as computing power intensifies for AI processing, the heat generated spikes significantly, and so does the reliance on water to cool it all down. And we aren't just talking about abstract national averages here. This hits home locally. Facilities in very specific places like Arizona, Nevada, and Texas, states already famous for their arid climates, are withdrawing massive amounts of water from already over-allocated river systems and depleted aquifers. The geographical placement of these facilities suddenly makes this a deeply, deeply local issue. There's a very tangible human element to all this. These huge tech facilities don't exist in a vacuum. They're moving into communities and actively competing with local farmers and residents for the exact same vital water supplies. It frames the whole thing not just as an infrastructure project, but as a major social issue. Now, you might be thinking, wait, haven't tech companies claimed they're hitting net zero water? Well, yes, they often make those claims by purchasing distant watershed replenishment credits. But the independent researchers highlighted in this chapter point out a glaring flaw. That distant accounting totally ignores the immediate depletion happening at the local level. I mean, restoring a watershed 2 states over doesn't do a single thing for a local farmer whose aquifer is running dry today. Which brings us to a really vital question. If these places are creating such a massive environmental drain locally, why is finding accurate, agreed-upon data on the impacts such an uphill battle? Why is there so much confusion out there?
Well, the crucial point is that right now, there is a massive disclosure gap. There is absolutely no federal mandate requiring data centers to publicly disclose their actual water withdrawal volumes. Instead, it's all voluntary reporting. And because it's voluntary, the methodology varies wildly from company to company, making any kind of cross-company comparison pretty much useless.
Because that raw data is hidden, the void gets filled by conflicting research. And when you look closely, a clear pattern emerges. You have industry-aligned groups like ITIF and CCIA who systematically report lower impact estimates, often with limited peer review. On the flip side, advocacy-aligned groups like the NRDC or Sierra Club lean toward higher estimates. But get this, the credibly independent sources like Princeton Repeat or the Rocky Mountain Institute provide the most reliable data. Yet remarkably, they are the least cited in actual regulatory proceedings. A perfect real-world example of this battle over evidence is the clash between two completely different studies looking at the exact same risk. On one hand, you have an industry-funded ERM study, which used a proprietary, undisclosed model and found no significant groundwater risk. On the other hand, you have an independent study funded by the National Science Foundation, conducted by Virginia Commonwealth University. That independent VCU study, they didn't use a secret proprietary model. They calibrated theirs with public data from the U.S. Geological Survey, and their findings were starkly different. They projected a startling 25 to 50% reduction in local aquifer recharge if the development went ahead as planned.
Yet, when it came time to actually make a decision, the local government's response was incredibly telling. When Prince William County approved the project, their planning commission specifically cited the industry's study to justify moving forward. The independent VCU findings, even though they were part of the administrative record, they were completely omitted from the commission's written conclusions.
And Chapter 7 of the report notes this isn't just a local issue. This systemic bias extends all the way up to the federal level. Federal agencies that are traditionally tasked with objective scientific assessments are facing documented pressure to fast-track these tech infrastructure projects. That means serious pressure to soften findings, accelerate environmental permitting, and purposely deprioritize climate-related analysis.
Fixing the data gap. Federal-level recommendations.
To fix this, Chapter 7 of the report outlines 4 specific, actionable steps. Together, they aim to mandate total transparency and actively protect the scientific process from both political pressure and direct industry influence. The first major fix is mandatory disclosure. This suggests legislation requiring any massive data center, specifically those over 50 megawatts of IT load, to report their exact numbers quarterly. No more voluntary guessing games. They would have to report their electricity use, water withdrawal and consumption, and direct emissions to a publicly accessible federal database using standardized methods. Second, the report argues Congress absolutely must step in to protect federal agency scientists. This means taking existing scientific integrity policies and officially codifying them into statute. Crucially, this has to include strong whistleblower protections and independent review to stop political appointees from ever suppressing unfavorable environmental research. The third recommendation tackles the permitting process itself. The report advises reversing the expansion of categorical exclusions, which are basically loopholes for data centers. Instead, to make sure massive campus developments aren't just rubber-stamped, any major project should require a full environmental impact statement, complete with an independent technical review. Finally, to level the playing field against that overwhelming flood of industry-aligned research we saw earlier, the National Science Foundation and the Department of Energy need dedicated grant programs just for independent research. And this funding must come with incredibly strict conflict of interest rules, prohibiting industry funding for the researchers and ensuring peer review panels have absolutely no financial ties to the tech industry. By carefully following the evidence mapped out in Chapter 7 of this report by Virtualization Options LLC, we can clearly see how the frantic rush to build out AI infrastructure has vastly outpaced our collective ability to independently measure its toll. It's like we are building the plane while flying it, without fully understanding how much fuel and water it actually takes to stay in the air. So I'll leave you with this final thought to consider. As this massive data center boom continues to rapidly reshape communities across America, what are we genuinely willing to sacrifice locally to power the algorithms of the future? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep asking the tough questions.